like I said, I just want two things in life, right? Free chai and free lipsticks. When I first got Instagram for the network, so this was like 2018, I'd never used Instagram really before. I had it really briefly for like a minute and then I deleted it. So I thought like once you hit 1,000 followers, you've like made it, right? On a true story, so I was like, oh, I can't wait to hit 1,000 followers. Then maybe someone can like send me some free mascara. And the girls were like, what do you mean 1,000? I'm like, what? 1,000 is so difficult to get to, and I just want free mascara. And they're like, that's nothing. And I was like, what?
People are millions.
Yeah, I was really like naive and stupid, to be honest. Only 2 years ago. So not even that long ago. I don't even know if I'm any less stupider, but definitely less.
To be fair, when I hit my first 1,000 followers, I was like, that's a big room full of people, man. That's a lot of people. And my husband and I sort of were like, God, how did that many people find out about me? And now I'm like on 13,000, and I'm just like, that's the amount of people that is just beyond me. I can't physically like imagine that many people in one place. It's a lot of people.
Just actually last week I messaged you being like, I need to get to 2K for something. Now I'm like 2.1. I'm like, where are these people actually come from? How have I added 300 people that I don't really know onto my gram? And also, what is it? How do I actually feel about it? So I downloaded a couple of apps that show you who you're following and who's not following you back. Turns out a lot of my friends aren't following me back, but I think there's a glitch in the system because they were following me, then they stopped. So I messaged a lot of people being like, hey, you're not following me. They're like, no, we sure we were. And these are like close friends, so I know that they wouldn't purposely unfollow me.
Yeah.
But then it made me reflect. I'm like, who am I becoming? Like, why did I download an app to see who's unfollowing me?
Yeah, that's not healthy. Don't do that, because then you'll be like, oh, why isn't this person following me? Kind of thing. Don't do that.
But don't you think during this time there is an unhealthy obsession with being online and growing your content?
I think it's both ways. There is definitely an unhealthy amount of people, not unhealthy amount of people, but people doing an unhealthy amount of going online, because right now all our entertainment is online, all our work is online, but also we know that everyone else is online, so we're just trying to tap into that and make something out of it. And if you do it properly, like you set aside 2 hours to work online and then do something else, fine, but constantly being online is really not good for us. And we also start living this life which is for your followers, if that makes sense, where you're like, where you can't have a cup of tea without posting about it or making it look pretty, if you know what I mean. It's a bit weird.
Yeah, and I don't like that aspect of it. I talk about that quite vocally, both on my social media and also when I'm doing workshops, to say there is an element of being online that is perfect, that doesn't exist. So if you're trying to start a business or you're having a side hustle, this is not the reality of it. The reality is I wake up at 7 a.m. and I haven't been out of the house for 2 days because I've been on calls, and I don't go to sleep until midnight, sorry. So the reality is different to what is shown online, but then equally to what you just said, everything is online. So I've turned my notifications off, but then I have friends messaging on WhatsApp, and if it's not WhatsApp, then it's LinkedIn Messenger is now a new messenger for me. If not, then Instagram. I'm having full-on blown conversations with people, and it's like you have to kind of stay on it to keep connected, to have conversations. But I did digital detoxing before it was a thing. So when I left university, I deleted all my social media until 2018. I just didn't have anything. I was really happy. But I remember my friends used to message me being like, you don't know what's going on in our life because you don't have Snapchat. I was like, then you should message me to tell me. So I lost a lot of friends because everything was online, and now I feel there's a lot of my personal life that I don't like putting online for that exact reason. I'm like, I don't want my friends to find out through social media. I want them to know through me, or my family to find out through me. But then on the flip side, I post like really stupid pictures sometimes, and then I forget like my colors on in it. So my color, my colors messaged me being like, "Yeah, this beautiful," and I was like, "Shit, this is like a super."
They always reply to the saucy ones.
That's like a super saucy, pouty picture. And then they're messaging back me like, "You look just like your mom." I'm like, I don't think that's what I was going for.
Please don't say that. Oh my god, no. So I get that. But it's been the opposite for me. So you've lost friends because you're not online. I think I've lost friends because they're not online. Because previously I felt like social media is so easy. Like you put one thing up and everyone knows about it, and the next time you're all caught up, and then you can just talk about stuff, right? But with with people who don't post as much or are not as active online, I felt like I sort of lost touch because no one really calls up people and talks to them anymore. But that was the expectation with people, and I just living a fast-paced life, I just didn't have the time to go through like, oh, I haven't spoken to this person in ages. Like if I don't speak to them or if I don't see them online, I sort of forget about them, and like 3 months later I'll be like, oh shit, how's that person doing? I have no idea. Then I'll WhatsApp them and stuff. So I think for me it's a bit difficult keeping in touch with people.
Wow, I think you're the friend that I don't like, just having heard that.
Yeah, probably. It's just convenience. But in lockdown, and even before lockdown, I've made a lot of amazing friends online, you included. I mean, we met online, we slid into each other's DMs, quite literally. I've made friends all over the world. When I went to LA, I literally stayed with someone who I'd never met in person, and she's one of my closest friends now, and she's introduced me to so many other amazing people. And I remember when I was flying, I booked my tickets and I told my mom I was going, and she was like, oh, so, she was just asking me about what I was going to do. And I was like, yeah, I'll stay with a friend for a few days and then I'll go to a hotel in LA. And she's like, oh, who are you staying with? And I was like, a friend. She's like, oh, from where? It's like, from Instagram. And she just looked at me like I was insane. And I was like, I see where you're coming from. I see that she could be a serial murderer, but I trust her. And I was like, oh, we FaceTimed. I know her. We had never FaceTimed. We'd literally just DM'd each other, and thankfully it was all fine because here I am.
Thankfully, but you have to look at the safety. She's like, I remember when I was telling my family I'm doing a podcast. They're like, oh, okay, cool. So who's this girl? I'm like, they're like, how did you meet her? I'm like, Instagram. They're like, that's weird. They're like, oh, so you invited her to your wedding? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what? So you're right? Wait, what? People meet like that, and I completely get it. Like the kind of comment before, yeah, there was a point where I think because I was not living as fast of a pace life as mine is right now, I also expected friends on the same level to be the same level as me and to want to communicate with me and contact me, because it goes back to one of the episodes before, but I felt like that sense of stability and security wasn't there because you're not actually wanting to know what I'm getting up to, or I'm not asking what you're getting up to. You're telling everyone in the world, and so that doesn't make it special. But the more and more I'm busy, the more and more I completely understand it. So, we don't talk all the time, but I'm like, oh, you posted that, okay, you're doing that, let me talk to you about it, because at least I know. And I completely appreciate when you are speaking to tons and tons of people, like, I get 50 emails a day and 30 WhatsApp messages a day. I can't reply to everyone. Not that I don't want to, but I physically can't. And then when I'm with my other half, he gets super mad because he's like, there are so many WhatsApp messages that you're receiving that you're not opening, that you're not talking to. And then he's like, why are people even talking to you so much? Why do you need to talk to people? And I'm like, come on, I can't answer that question because, I just like to talk.
It's not my fault I'm
That's
popular.
what I've always wanted to be. But the point being that everything is changing. We need to be obviously aware of who we're talking to. So catfishing is real.
Yeah.
And we need to be really aware of who it is, how we're getting to know them, where are we meeting. Not that I'm sad or not, but I think it was July 13th that we went for tea last year and we met for the first time. But besides that...
It was... Oh my god, I drove past the cafe the other day and I took a picture of it and then I forgot to send it to you. But I took a picture to send it to you and be like, oh my god, look what it is.
Yeah, exactly, we're on the same wavelength. But my point being that we met in a public place to be like, okay, is this, are we real or not? Are you real or not? And I think we, it's not being okay with such behaviors, but it's appreciating that this can be the future of sliding into each other's DMs, of swiping right and left. That's the way that the world is going. And as much as I, in my traditional mindset of this is how you meet people, I'm not 100% in love with it. Similar to yourself, I've met such great people over this time period that I wouldn't have met before because they're accessible. And accessibility is so key right now.
Exactly. And it's also, you know, not even just meeting new people, but reconnecting with old people. I've had so many people that I knew years ago, and we've just reconnected online. Like they'll reply to my story. I've been following them for years, right? But they'll reply to something I put up, and I'll be like, we'll talk about it, and then we'll be like, hi, yeah, we should actually meet up, and then we actually do meet up, and it's great. I met someone in New Zealand through that. I met someone in Pakistan through that. I met someone in LA through that. Like, because people, I don't know, if you, the more active you're online, the more you seem approachable, and in that sense, people will reply to your message and be like, "Oh, I did that," or "Oh, I've read that book," or try doing this instead. And then you just have the conversation flowing, whereas you might never have had that conversation in the first place.
Okay, but what about people that have come back into your life and you're thinking, why are you starting a conversation with me? So I've had just this week, I had I reconnected with a girl that I hadn't spoken to in years because one of her friends and I fell out, so we don't have conversation, we don't converse, and that was always her friend, so I didn't get in touch. But the same thing happened to me a couple of months ago. I got in touch with a girl who I used to know, a friend of a friend, and that friend used to be like, oh, she says horrible things about you, and etc. etc. So I never had a conversation, and we got back in touch, and I'm thinking, why do you want to get back in touch with me? Like, is it because I'm now online? Is it because I have a presence? Is it because I'm building a business? And these are just two examples, but sometimes I do feel that people come back into your life and you're like, is it because I'm trying to make something of myself? Is that what you want to jump onto?
For me, I think I like giving people benefit of the doubt. My first response is not, oh, are you reaching out to me because you want something from me? Because I don't know, it's just not my first thought. Obviously, if it's a really obviously worded message like that, then I won't reply. Like I've had people be like, oh, you've forgotten me now that you're famous, and I'm like, I don't remember speaking to you ever in my life. Or it'll be like, I don't know, like, oh, hey, can you shout out this, and I'll be like, no, because no. So it's literally, when it's messages like that, then I probably won't reply unless it's a really good cause, and then I'll talk to them a bit more, learn about it, and then maybe put it up there. But in general, I don't engage in that kind of conversation. But if someone genuinely replies to a story or sends me a message and is like, how are you, whatever, I'm not gonna jump to the conclusion that they're just doing it to use me. Over time, if I do feel like it, then yes, I might slowly pull away, and but it hasn't happened yet. And so far, I've been really happy and made a lot of new friends out of old friends, or new friends entirely. And it's been really good, especially in lockdown, I think, because we're all in the same boat, and we have a lot more time to be online, to actually have real conversations online, as opposed to being like, oh, you look really pretty under a picture. You can actually like DM someone and actually talk to them. So
yeah,
I definitely think lockdown's been good for me.
I guess it's not my first thought, but sometimes I do have the thought of having that thought, and then I have to stop myself to be like, why am I being so cynical? And I'm not cynical by nature.
But it is important because you have to keep yourself safe as well. But I think I trust people a lot in general. So I don't think about, my, like I said, my first thought wouldn't be like, oh, they're using me, or that this is a catfish or anything. Like, unless they say something or they trip themselves up, or if there's a major red flag, I won't even think about it.
Yeah, no, I get that. I normally just delete like spammy messages because I'm like, that's just not appropriate, so I'm not gonna reply back to that one. But genuinely, people who get back in touch with me, I think mine maybe on reflection, I'm not as cynical, but sometimes I'm a little bit hurt. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, why? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's like, okay, well, when something happened, why did you not get in touch with me then? Why did you not ask me how I was? Like, what is?
But do they know that something
If
happened?
something happened between me and their friends, or something happened between me and them, then of course,
Oh,
yeah.
that, yeah.
Like if something happened between me and you, which has also been the case, people have got back in touch and they're like, "Oh, remember this time?" And I'm like, "I'm pretty sure you bullied me." No, we didn't do that. No, I'm pretty sure I suffered. Or exactly like between like friends, I'm like, but you know, maybe being online, I think I have started these conversations kind of being like, I'm a bit confused, and they've always ended well, to be like, no, actually we didn't know, we didn't mean it. But I guess I'm just trying to save myself from being like hurt, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and so the thing is, I know I've said that I trust people a lot, and I do trust people a lot, but I'm very good at not placing my happiness in others or not expecting a lot from other people. So I, you know, I will be really nice to everyone, and I will trust people in that I will share genuine stories with them, or like talk to them and actually care about them and ask them how they are and all. But if they turn around and do something shitty, I'm very good at moving on from that. And that's purely because I didn't have super high expectations in the first place, if that makes sense. I mean, of course, with my closest friends, you obviously do because I've known them for years, or, I talk to them a lot, fine. But it takes time for me to develop that. And I think that's a way of protecting myself, I guess. It's just how I am naturally. Like, I don't expect, especially, and I think it's very apparent in the way that I treat my birthday, I think, in a way, because my birthday is important to me, yes, fine. But if someone forgets about wishing me on my birthday, I don't hold it against them. Whereas I know people who will be like, why didn't you wish me on my birthday? Or they'll be like really upset if you don't call them. But I'm not that person. Like, someone will be like, they'll message me a month later and be like, I'm so sorry I forgot your birthday. I was like, it's fine. I didn't expect you to remember. It's fine. It's just my birthday.
Clarify at this point that I would like my birthday to be remembered within kind of the week or 10 days that it happens. I am that person.
That's not me.
Yeah, I know, and like we're different, right? But a lot of what you're saying, I'm learning, and a lot of
it is a learning curve,
of
absolutely.
what we're talking through, a lot of this experience over the last few years has been me unlearning a lot of things. I put a lot of trust in people. I have always been quite a pushover and quite a people pleaser. That has got me into bad situations and around terrible people. And so now I'm trying to unlearn that that's not necessary. And I think a lot of that comes from having the confidence within yourself.
100%, yeah.
And I've got to a point now where, year after year, I'm like, actually, I'm more confident in myself and my ability, and, knowing your value, knowing your worth. I've said it before, but I earned it here. I'm here for a reason. I plan to stay. And I think it's also being stable in the relationships around you. Not that you put the dependency in the relationship, that's not what it is, but it's being secure enough to know that you've got good people around you, so that when you need them, they are there, and if you don't need them, they're still going to be there. And I think something you've made a really key point of is, when I was younger, at least, so when I say younger, I mean when I was at university, I would think that
baby Sonya at uni,
I thought that friendships were very much like you talk every day and you fill in each other's gaps and you're constant. And as I grow older, I realize that's not friendships. Friendships are the ones that you can pick back up where you left off last time, even if the last time was like a year ago. It's that.
I think more, yeah, yes. I mean, more important than that, friendship is like a feeling more than, the amount that you talk or the consistency of it all. Because I think of my best friend, we're in a long distance best friendship, which is very difficult. But there's effort from both sides. It's not like one person won't be like, oh, you haven't asked me how my day was, blah blah blah. I will automatically tell her how my day was, or automatically tell her if something's bothering me, and if I need to talk about something. Because in waiting for her to ask me, like, she's not a mind reader, and she might have other stuff going on, right? This is one of the issues that we have as human beings, is that we forget that everyone else is also an entire human being with complex thoughts and issues and insecurities, etc. And by helping each other out, by, you know, putting it all out there, by opening up the discussion yourself, you're bypassing that whole awkwardness, which is like, oh, why didn't you ask me how my day was? Why didn't you? Because you could be thinking about something else, and, you know, it's not your fault. You didn't intend to come off as if you didn't care. It's just, you just, and sometimes it slips your mind, and it's fine. Like, you know. So for me, not having those like crazy high expectations from the relationships that I have has actually helped me in my life, because I'm not like nitpicking every tiny little detail and being like, why did they say that? I felt like there was a tone in the way that they said that, or why did they look at me? Why did they give me that look, kind of thing. And I'm just like, I just let things slide, because I'm the kind of person who,
it's not healthy to think.
I'm the kind of person who just says, if I'm feeling something, I will say it, and I expect people to do the same for me. So I'm not going around wondering what is happening or what's on their mind.
And as I've kind of grown up and I've had similar conversations with people, a part of it also coming from the culture we come from, things are really sheltered, and so you have this feeling of you must be a part of the community, or you must be part of this circle. And I think what I'm trying to say is, as the first daughter and the eldest daughter and the eldest child, I'm also the eldest cousin, and I have no like younger cousins underneath me who kind of I can kind of relate to. So I'm the oldest. And my point being that my mom says things now like, oh, but you know, cousins are everything, and she's super close to her cousins, so she doesn't necessarily need the friends. But I never had that growing up, so I didn't have cousins, and I didn't have anyone my age, and I couldn't really talk to my parents. And so I think I looked for that relationship and that friendship within other people, within friends. Whereas it's different, because I see my younger siblings are quite different, because they have someone to go to. Whereas for me, I was like, well, I can't go to my cousins because I don't have any that are my age. I can't go to my parents because they're probably who I want to talk about. I can't go to my teachers because they're not my friends. And you know, so I think I kind of like tried to find that in people, because a part of me was very insecure in myself, maybe. But I've spoken to other oldest girls of families, especially from South Asian and actually also from black families, and they feel really similar if they didn't have that kind of community group. Because I know you've got cousins and you're quite close to them.
I was gonna say, I think it's also a difference of where you grow up. You know, in a community where I grew up in Pakistan, I think your cousins are your first friends. And like here, I think you are more inclined to make friends in school before anything else. But in Pakistan, I think you're more inclined to make friends with family before anything else, because we're so family centered. Like, you know, you basically live with your family. Every summer you spend the whole family with your cousins. And did I say that right? I don't know what I said. I thought I said you spend the whole family with your cousins, but I meant to say you spend the whole summer with your cousins. But anyway, most holidays are like at your grandparents' house, where all your aunts and uncles come with all their kids, and you just end up spending a lot more time with them. So for me, I think I kind of suffered moving here, because my closest friendships were within my family. So on my mom's side, I'm the eldest girl cousin, and on my dad's side, I'm the youngest girl cousin. So I've got a really strange balance where I'm the complete baby on my dad's side, and I'm the complete grown up on my mom's side. Like, I'm the first one to get married on my mom's side. I was the first one to get a job on my mom's side, things like that. Whereas on my dad's side, I like, people literally greet me by pinching my cheeks at the age of 26 because I'm a baby in that side. So it's a really fun balance, but that means that I can, you know, get advice from not only people who are closer to my age, but also people who are like maybe 10 years younger than me. And I have that openness with them to be able to learn from their experiences. And I also have the experience of being able to help anyone younger than me, or like motivating someone younger than me, and be like, you know, this is what you can do, this was my experience, etc. And I think I really lost that when I moved here, because I felt like I had to start all over making friends. And it's really hard to do when you're an adult, and when you're not in a traditional job role, because you don't have the consistency of meeting the same people every day. So without that, I found it very difficult to sort of make new friends here. And so that's why being online and, you know, trusting people so much is such a big part of my life, because that's where I see comfort now. That's where my friendships are, mostly online.
It's crazy, isn't it? How, I mean, it's not crazy. It's proven research, but it's crazy how you're socialized really affects you as you grow older, and you don't really know the impact of it. I think until you're like early adulthood, mid adulthood. There's tons of examples of that, but there's also tons of experiences where you've either black boxed them, or you've uncovered something and you haven't quite realized. And I have a lot of friends right now that I'm speaking to, and not necessarily close friends, but friends or people that I've known of, who we're finding comfort in each other because they're going through circumstances at home which they're only now realizing at the age of kind of like anywhere between 23 to 28, and being like, that makes a lot of sense now why this was happening when I was younger, or this is how I felt, this is how I feel now. And people make say quarter life, kind of the quarter life difficulty, and I do think it's real. I don't think it's as dramatic as that, but I think it's a lot of the learnings and unlearnings come into play when you get a bit older, and when you're an adult and actually making decisions for yourself and being responsible and thinking about the next chapter in your life, regardless of that. I'm not trying to say that's marriage or kids by any means, but I just mean the next step.
It could be anything. It could be a job, it could be a master's, it could be marriage, it could be change of career, anything. And I agree with that. And I think the quarter life crisis situation is because you're finally able to process who you are. Because up until, I don't know, up until you graduate from university, there's someone else who tells you what to do. And it's very clear, step one, step two, step three. But after that, you're just like, I'm on my own now. I actually have to make my own decision. Like, I don't have someone telling me, oh, do these readings. I don't have someone saying, oh, I want you to do the dishes. I don't have someone saying, okay, it's 3:00, you should have some water or have some lunch. You're actually on your own. And that is when you truly start to realize who you are. And for some people, it comes very naturally, but for some, it doesn't, because, there's a lot of comfort and structure, and breaking out of that is difficult. And yeah, I think quarter life crises are very real things, and they might even be more important than midlife crises, because there's a massive change between who you are at 18 and who you are at 25, whereas at 40 you've been the same for about 10 years, so you're just being over dramatic. Like, chill.
I wonder what we'd be like. Maybe in one of our episodes we should do like a pledge, or like a reflections, like a goal list, and then
bury a time capsule.
Yeah, like that, but
in
online,
the form of a podcast.
Online, and then listen back to it in even a year, to be like, this is what we wanted, and have we achieved that? I don't know. I like things like that, so I'm a bit.
I know you do, but I don't, because that means that I don't know. I guess I do, because saying it out loud speaks it into existence, but at the same time, saying it out loud somehow creates more of an expectation. And if I'm not working all the time to achieve that, I feel a bit like I haven't achieved anything. So baby steps, I guess. Baby steps.
Yeah, whereas I just drown myself in something. I'm like, right, I've said it, let's do it. But it's cool learning from each other, I think. Yeah, I'm super. I don't even know what the word is. Someone said it to me before, but when I think like that and I do like that, they're like, it's really strange that you do it, because you like run a business and you're quite pragmatic and you have to be logical, and then you're like whole kind of, let's make affirmations and set goals and and speak it into its existence and go on like a yoga retreat comes out, and I'm like, yes, that also exists. We can exist together.
Hey guys, this is Zoha. Thank you so much for listening to me and my boss babe co-host Sonya. You can slide into our DMs at any time with your questions and feedback on Twitter and Instagram. We are at LKKG Podcast, or you can email us on lkkgpodcast@gmail.com.